Okay, welcome to section 9.2, and you'll be happy to know that section 9.2 is going to be easier. In fact, all the rest of the sections are going to be easier than section 9.1. And so 9.1, we were looking at comparing two proportions. So I'm going to put a 9.1 right here for the proportions. 9.2, we're going to be looking at means. So 9.2, we're looking at two populations and comparing two means. And so I'll put a 9.2 right there. So um, one thing that's important is whether or not our data sets are dependent or independent. In general, we need to have our samples be independent if we're going to use this test. So if our samples are two independent groups, we use this test right here. If our samples are dependent on each other, meaning that there's a before and after kind of effect, then we use this formula right here, which I believe we'll look at in 9.3. So for now, we need our two groups to be independent so that we can compare our two independent groups, just like we did over here, actually. It's just that instead of a proportion, this time we're going to be looking at a mean, and then maybe in 9.3, we'll look at what happens when they are dependent. So determine whether the samples are independent or dependent. A data sample includes the weight of 100 students before and after their first year of college. So the question is there a natural pairing between each value in one sample and each value in the second sample? So here there definitely is. Student 1, they took their weight before and after. Student 2, they took their weight before and after. Student 3, before and after. If it was one group of students in math class and a completely different group of students in history class, then they would be independent. But because it's the same students that they're measuring before and after, it means that the samples are naturally dependent because there's a natural pairing between them. And so in that case, we have a special formula for that right here, the paired data one, which we'll look at in the next section. Two samples are blank if the sample values from one population are not related to or somehow naturally paired or matched with the sample values from the other population. The correct blank for that would be that's when they are independent. We want the two groups to not have any overlap or any natural before and after kind of pairing. We say that if the sample values are paired, we say that they are dependent. So with all of that out of the way, now we know how to tell whether or not they are independent or whether or not they are dependent. What we're going to do is go ahead and take a look at our first example of doing a hypothesis test, and we'll do that in the next video.